Hi there, Lousy Facelift here again, and today I want to make this video on recording automations for the Core KP3 that I promised in this Octatrack review Gear Talk video that I made. And yeah, I said that I think the KP3 is a great mangler for audio signals, and it's controllable via Midi. So I want to quickly explain how I have everything set up so you can understand exactly what I'm doing. Please excuse me that I don't make a line out recording. I'm recording through the built-in microphones of the camera because I didn't want to change the setup and rewire everything, and so that's why they are a bit far apart, you know. I hope you can still see everything okay, and maybe I'll just explain a little more so that you can follow exactly what it is that I'm doing here. First of all, the audio signal path. I have the KP3 hooked up to the mixer. I have this on an auxiliary send so that I can choose here which of the signals going into the mixer are sent to the KP3. And for this example I want to manipulate the sounds of the EMX. So that's why the EMX is also running, and also I'm using the EMX as a MIDI clock for the MPC, and the MPC also controls or is synced with the chaos pads, and the chaos oscillator is only on because the signal runs through the chaos oscillator first and then reaches the chaos pad. That's why I also have this on at the moment. Okay, and I want to manipulate the sound coming from the EMX, and I have a dubstep type pattern programmed in the EMX, and now I can choose different effects here. Oh, and I've already made a recording in an earlier version, so I have to clear this part first. Let me just clear this track. Sorry about that. All events. Okay, so now okay, the audio signal of the EMX is running through the mixer, fed into the KP3, and I want to manipulate it there. And whatever I'm doing here on the touchpad and program changes will be sent via Midi into the MPC and be recorded here, so that I can have everything play back the same way coming from the MPC instead of my fingers. Alright, and in order to do this you have to be on the same MIDI channel on the KP3 and also on the MPC. So I have my KP3 set to MIDI channel 12. If you don't know how to change the MIDI channel, please just press Shift plus pad number 5. It says message printed on the panel. Then you see GLCH in the display. It starts blinking. GLCH is for global channel. That's the MIDI channel. You can then press down the program knob in the top right corner, and here you see CH and then a number from 1 to 16. Here it says CH12 for channel 12. That's what I want to use. So if you want to change this setting, the right key starts blinking. You can confirm your setting by pressing the right key, or just leave the mode by pressing Shift again. And then you have the MIDI channel set on the KP3. As I said, the MPC is synced to the EMX, and in order to record all the MIDI data coming from the KP3, I have to set it to MIDI channel 12, of course, here. So if you're on the main screen in the MPC, please move the cursor to type. It's in the lower left corner where it says type, and if this is set to drum, change this to Midi, and then program off, because I'm not using a sample program for this, I'm using the sound of the EMX, and then 2 clicks to the right lets you access the Midi channels, and here I have this set to 12, and that's the Midi out. I have this set up so that I can use Midi out C of the MPC controlling the Midi in of the KP3. So Midi out of the MPC to the Midi in on the KP3, and also Midi out on the KP3 to Midi input B on the MPC. And in this case it's a little different. I have this little box right here. It's called MPU 104 by Roland, which is a Midi input selector. It's not a merger. It doesn't take 2 signals and puts 2 Midi channels and puts them on 1 channel going out. You can just select different controllers. I can use up to 5 Midi instruments now to send Midi data to the Midi input B of the MPC and switch these from 1 to 5. And in this case I'm using Midi input 3 because the Midi out of the KP3 is hooked up to the Midi in number 3 on this unit here, and that's connected to the Midi import B on the MPC. So that's how this connection is made. Okay, then one thing is pretty important to look out for. If you're recording all the data coming from the KP3 in the MPC, you don't want the Midi soft through function activated. That's only when you're using a keyboard or something like this. You want the Midi data coming from the keyboard to be sent to the output right away. So when you're switching from one Midi controller to the next, you might have to change this setting. You can find this setting pressing the mode key plus pad number 9. Then you're in Midi sync and note mode, and when you're on the Midi page, you can change the second entry. It says soft through from on to off, and like this you avoid the Midi data from the KP3 running into the MPC and back again, so that it doesn't create a loop, because otherwise it can cause problems. Where, especially when you switch programs on the KP3 that you also record, then you can have these delays and all this other problematic stuff. To avoid this, soft through set to off. All right. Now in sync mode, I have for input A, I choose sync in. So the Midi, the MPC works as a slave for the MPC. Mode set to Midi clock, and none of the Midi machine controls, these are set to off. And sync out also set to Midi clock on all channels. The MPC gets the Midi clock from the EMX, but then acts as a master for all the other devices, because I have these 4 Midi outs that let me control up to 64 Midi channels. So it is sort of the clock is from the EMX. Otherwise, this is the host sequencer, and it acts like a master for all the other devices. Okay, I hope I have explained this okay. As I said, I'm using Midi channel number 12, output C, and I'm going to let you listen to this basic pattern that I've recorded. I think I'm going to use these two instruments, 1 and 3. Sounds a bit nicer than this. Rather, I don't know. It sounds a bit nasty. I'm going to have the pattern play like this. And now I'm going to make changes with the KP3. Like this. This is loop effect 3, by the way. Okay, it'll sound like this when I record it. I'm just going to make a recording, go crazy with the effects, and then have it played back to you. Alright, so I just need to press record on the MPC, on the channel. Yeah, okay, and go ahead. And oh, one thing maybe I should mention, the first thing you want to record with the KP3 is a program change, because if you forget the program change command, then for the things you're doing on the touchpad, it'll always use the currently selected effect, and this might be something different than what you had in mind when you made the recording. So first thing you want to do is program change, either using the that always happens to me. Never mind. Either using the buttons or the program dial in the top right corner of the KP3. Okay. Alright, here we go. Okay, should be enough. Now all this stuff is recorded with the MPC, and now I can play this back again and have a look at the KP3 and watch what's happening here. You'll see the cursor move just like it did when I had the finger on the touchpad. It'll play back just the same. Okay, and for some of this stuff it really requires a bit of practice to hit the right notes to make it all like it should, you know, rhythmically and everything. You can really play around with this, and yeah, that's what I like to use for mangling sounds. I think this is a great combination, the two. Of course, this could also affect the sounds coming from the MPC itself, if you have anything set up there, but I don't. I'm just using it as a sequencer in this example. The sound was from the EMX, like I said. And just don't forget to switch soft through to on again when you want to use a keyboard or another controller after you're done with the recording. Alright, thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.